Hey there folks, Mr. Matthew Larson here once more. Let's talk about the two different types of peace. Now, two different types of peace. This is going to be an idea from Johan Galtung, who's a pioneer of peace studies. So he's kind of the founder or one of the big wigs in this field of studying peace and what true peace really is. He came up with the idea of positive and negative peace. So the first thing to understand about positive and negative peace is the idea of structural violence. Now, the belief set is here that you cannot have pure positive peace if there are any structural violence that is present. So structural violence is simply defined as human-made structures that are going to prevent someone from achieving their full potential. Simply put, these are social injustices. Now, examples of structural violence, things we could see like racism. So a certain society, you maybe prefer people who are white versus those who are not. That would be a structural violence system in that sense. Sexism, so maybe you're preferring one sex over the other. Traditionally, this tends to be males having more rights than females. A good example of this would be present-day Afghanistan under the Taliban, of the belief set that men are inherently more important and valuable to society than women. And then lastly is the idea of classism. So certain classes, usually the wealthy, have a higher potential than those who are not in that wealthier set of classes. A good example of this would be the caste system in India. So these are different examples of things that are structurally a part of a system that make it so individuals cannot achieve their full potential. If you're living in a racist society and you're not a member of the it race, you're not going to be able to achieve your full potential. Same if you're in a sexist society and you are not the preferred sex, or if you're in a classist society and you are not the preferred class. Negative peace. Now, negative peace is described as an absence of war and violence. So simply put, this means violence is not happening. This does not predict future stability, and it does not predict future harmony. So this is simply society at the moment is not fighting violently with one another. They could snap back into violence or snap into violence at any moment. However, at this very moment, they are not actively fighting. An example of positive peace is an absence of any form of structural and direct violence. So you take the absence of violence and you remove the structural violence that is inherent into many societies, and you don't have either of those present. This is long-lasting, and this is built on a sustainable investments in the economy of the place we're discussing and the institutions of the place we're discussing. Sexist institutions are removed, and that barrier has been removed. The racist barriers have been removed. Class inequalities have more or less been removed, and you have a long-lasting, sustainable investment. You can kind of predict that down the road, the peace will still be prevalent. This is really used to gauge the resilience of a society, looking at a society and thinking, does it take hits without falling back into conflict? So are there some of these things that previously would have maybe caused violent conflict no longer causing such a violent conflict or violent conflict at all? People discuss differences and be able to have that dialogue without going totally into conflict and violence. It's one of the things we talk about with positive peace. Lastly, we're looking right here at this chart that he had put together. We have violence. It can be direct violence, or it can be indirect structural violence right through here. We can focus on the person, or we can focus indirectly. Now, this is going to be indirect violence. It's a structural violence. So if you get rid of that, that's going to bring about positive peace when you remove those factors. If you have positive peace, the personal violence is gone, as well as the indirect structural violence. If you have negative peace, the structural violence is still going to be prevalent and present. However, the personal violence is no longer there. If you have any comments or questions, please do let me know. Comment below. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Good luck.